However, if you take Steve Jobs with his philosophy and his products, yeah? Or if you take Beethoven with his philosophy and his products, and what both have left behind, would you say they were comparing? Or they were looking for essence and providing some kind of new real value in the way we live, in the way we do things, in the way we perceive, either Beethoven or Steve Jobs? Were they focusing on the profit element and copying others and comparing, or were they actually creating something based on an essence platform?
Hi, Paul.
Here we are again, eh?
Yeah, welcome to the Digital Wellness Advantage again. And yeah, small is beautiful. And where this is coming from, Paul? Let's talk about this, if you agree.
Yeah, no, for us here at the studio consulting, we do a lot of consulting. For us, the marketing, especially the branding, a lot of it comes out of Vedanta and also shamanic practices. The philosophies which were turned around in order not to philosophize so much, to make it more active, more action based. So I think today, Matej and I would like to talk a little bit about Vedanta and how it's affected us and our team and our tribe, and how we use it to build upon. I think this is the main topic, no, Matej?
Yes, exactly. And even before the studio existed, before we were thinking together, doing projects, we were talking about life, about different topics that I know that from you, there were in most cases coming from Vedanta. And I guess that many people that don't go deep enough, don't take time, maybe don't understand, how this can help me. Yeah. I for sure can say that it can help you with in many things. Yeah. Especially in how not to burn out. Yeah. So that's something very important now. Yeah.
The burnout situation is very interesting in relation to Vedanta, because Vedantic philosophy, no one knows exactly how old it is, but there is no doubt that it goes a few thousand years BC. And some people know quite a bit about it and some people don't. But the Sanskrit language in the Indus Valley, apparently it was developed over many centuries by the nomadic tribes from the shores of Japan all the way to the shores of Hungary. I don't know how many of you know, but you've got these huge grasslands, huge steppes. Yeah, and for centuries upon centuries, nomadic people lived there, and there was no written form. It was all either song or poetry. Everything was related via stories. It was all about storytelling and traveling. Yeah, and this is what makes Vedanta as a base very interesting for branding, because branding ultimately is about storytelling. And it's about traveling. Some want to make it very number based. Some want to make it very romantic. Some want to make it very cosmic. But it is about traveling and storytelling. And the better you tell the story, the more likely you are to sell your concept or your product. And this is where Vedanta came from, and exactly where it started and how long ago, none of the historians can agree on exactly. However, over the centuries, it's been put into non-dualistic form. Yeah, so as to say, minimum amount of comparison, because most of the marketing we have today is based on some sort of comparison, and one company or one product or one concept copying another but wanting to be better. Whereas Vedantic philosophy and Shamanic as well, from the other side of the planet, they focus more on non-dualistic. Yeah. So this is what we're talking about today. So this is why small is beautiful for us. Yeah, because it's about removing elements that don't really work, putting it into plain language, if you like. Yeah, what is the process? Removing things that don't really work, and focusing on that which works. And where you find that it's still not working, you remove that, and the next, and the next, and the next, and the next, yeah? And so on. And that's how it works. Is this making any sense, Matej?
Yeah. You know, you and me, and actually with the team, in many occasions spoke about this. Not only, especially not in the beginning, work-related topics, life, yeah. And it's interesting, actually, how if you go deeper, yeah, you can see how things are connected, and how many principles can be used not in only in life, but actually in marketing, in business, yeah, and also in leadership, yeah. So I know that with a team that we have from the beginning, yeah, those topics actually were also the reason why actually made the, let's say, our little tribal culture stronger. The synergy between us, yeah. But where do you think, Paul, that actually, you know, how we can actually with Vedantic principles actually
Well,
connect with,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, and well, the connection, I think, maybe a little bit down the line, or some will
Mm-hmm.
get it straight away. But maybe just an example, a couple of examples of how people define this, if you like. Eh? Maybe a direct quote, maybe from the Upanishads. The Upanishads is one of the major works, Sanskrit works, which treats Vedantic works, yeah. But the Upanishads translated into English basically means end of philosophy, end of philosophizing, end of comparing all the time. But that's the actual meaning of the Upanishads in English, and there are variations on it. So those of you who want to correct me, go ahead. But I'm telling you now, there are variations on that meaning. Yeah. So um, um, there are so many different ways to angle this. Yeah. For example, one of the most famous quotes: "This here is all, and so is that. All comes out of the all. Yeah. Remove the all from the all remains forever." So what is getting at, it's what is the essence, getting at the essence of something. Yeah. And another one that I like particularly was very strong for me, because I find that the sun is our magnet. The sun is our electromagnetic force for everything. So one that I like a lot is as in the sun or light, there is neither day nor night. So in the absolute or light, there is neither knowledge nor ignorance. So here you see how in a very short phrase, they're treating the absolute and bringing things down into a very narrow space. Definitive. So maybe some of you can see how this is directly related to branding. Yeah. How do we get to the essence? So another quote: "The absolute is described as not this, not that, and so on and so on and so on by negatives, i.e. removing another layer and another layer to get to the real substance." So this is the process that we employ at the studio consulting for branding. Of course, it becomes there are many complexities or many levels later on when you have to deal with content and you have to deal with different types of platforms and media and so on. However, to find the base platform, this is a process that we use. Yeah, Matej, any comments on that?
What's interesting, you know, that many people would say, yeah, but those guys, so Paul and Matej would like to talk about gurus and this kind of
No.
philosophy, yeah. But it's
Numbers.
actually opposite, yeah. It's opposite, yeah. And you share with me your thoughts many years ago, yeah. That most probably that age is actually over, and it's about the very practical tools what you are now presenting, that if we take time and if we go deep, we can apply them in many ways, yeah. Starting with branding, then with different activities, marketing, yeah. The things are just going faster and faster, yeah. And sometimes we just, can quickly lose ourselves, yeah. And if you don't have some kind of grounded principles, guidelines, yeah, that can help you how to navigate through all this chaos, yeah, you can get mad, yeah. You can just go insane. So I know from just myself, personal experience, and walking the talk, yeah. What we are now saying, yeah, that it can help a lot, yeah. It can help a lot, and it's not about gurus, it's about applying this, no.
Yeah, let's go to the last quote again. The absolute is described as not this and not that, and so on, by negatives only. Ne? The way we treat the absolute is for us is the essence of a brand. Ne? That might be the person who first created the concept, or it might be more product based. It doesn't matter, but looking for that essence that we can then build on and make it unique and special. Ne? Otherwise, why would we sell ourselves as a boutique agency, ne? Or small, ne? Because we want to personalize, we want to go deeper. And here, these concepts can be used very well. On the one level, someone can come along and argue, yeah, but this is a lot of hullabaloo because, Vedanta actually proposes don't create wealth, and don't look after wealth. But it also says don't negate. It says don't create and don't negate. Yeah, take the obvious, take the absolute, take the definitive, the truth as it is, and build on that. Yeah. So yeah, there can be an argument that Vedantic principles and guruship, if you like, or even the medicine men of shamanic practices, there's no wealth in terms of money, and there is no competition there. It's just cleansing and cleansing and cleansing and getting closer and closer and closer to the. But here we are talking about that process, yeah. And rather than just taking one side of it, taking the holistic side, if you like, the holistic view, yeah. There is also the side don't negate, yeah. So naturally, just as we have the sun, and it gives us everything that we need and want, including marketing, because the sun is the absolute magnet, yeah. And who's going to argue that magnetism has nothing to do with marketing? We are continuously trying to create magnetism with our campaigns and redefining content and redefining how we present ourselves or our products. So magnetism is at the center of it. Yeah. And if we can carry that magnetic energy, that force, right through the campaign, right through the various levels of the marketing strategy, that's very powerful.
What's interesting to me, before you mentioned duality, and in marketing, yeah, if you don't compare, whatever you are doing, yeah, yourself with competition, yeah, this metric with that metric, yeah, this quarter with another quarter, and so on, yeah. It's somehow entangled inside of the medium, yeah, how this, especially digital, is working, yeah. And right now we are inside of this beast, yeah. It is going faster and faster and faster and faster, and it's just not only that it's impossible to compete, it's just pointless, it's silly. And I think that the key is actually in those ancient wisdoms, principles that actually can support us and help us to find meaning and to find clarity and not to burn out, yeah, and also to find some joy in whatever we are doing, yeah, because all the technology is going so fast that you ask yourself, what's the point, yeah, of me, yeah.
But when people compare, when one company is comparing their products or their concepts with another company, yeah, what is the main reason to compare? Is to compete, right?
Yeah.
So why compete? We compete so that we can be better. But why do we want to be better? Yeah? We want to be better than that product, and it's going to be something similar usually, but better. Just like now we've got BYD and so many Chinese cars, very similar to what Mercedes and BMW and Tesla have done. However, they're trying to make it better. But they took years to learn from that and copy that and make it slightly better. They were comparing and learning from that, yeah? But what is the point of all that? Yeah. The point is to drive numbers, to drive profit. Yeah. That is the ultimate goal. Yeah? The way I see it, and some people may agree with me, comparison normally drives us to more profit in the business world. Yeah? However, if we take Steve Jobs with his philosophy and his products, yeah, or if we take Beethoven with his philosophy and his products, and what both have left behind, would you say they were comparing, or they were looking for essence in something, for real essence, and providing some kind of new real value in the way we live, in the way we do things, in the way we perceive, either Beethoven or Steve Jobs? Were they focusing on the profit element and copying others and comparing, or were they actually creating something based on an essence platform? Which would you say?
Yeah, based on the essence, yeah. I can't say for Beethoven, yeah, maybe from, you know, what others wrote about him, yeah, but what I see, hear about Steve Jobs, yeah, he didn't care about the market. He didn't care about what other things or what competition is doing.
Exactly.
Offering,
Exactly.
yeah. He was just the, you know, and he didn't care about the noise. He was just going after the signal, yeah, what he knows that it's important, yeah. And look where we are, yeah.
Yeah.
He, you know, I think that there is also another part of this story, yeah, of, you know, what's the consequence of going too radical, yeah, of your body, you know, illness and so on and so on. But about the let's say legacy of his work and his vision, it's obvious, yeah, what this actually created for himself, yeah, illness and who knows, relationships, yeah, that's also a fact, yeah, most probably also this somehow affected him, yeah, but the business results, I think we all carry in our pockets or have our own
Well,
tables.
I can tell you a little bit about Beethoven. I read, something on his life story and how he lived. Not so much about his music. Obviously, his music was described there, or more like how he managed to put it together. Not the actual music itself, but the processes behind it. And the church had a lot to do with it at the time, and negotiations between him and the church, and also his nephew, who was the go-between at the time. We can say his nephew saved him in many ways, because Beethoven became an alcoholic and also became blind. Yeah, and he was a radical. He was a radical and going into the essence of things to such a degree that his work for centuries cannot be dismissed, cannot be forgotten. It's there, and it's probably going to be there far longer than IBM or Microsoft, isn't it? Probably, but he was definitely not thinking about the money, or the profit. He was thinking about that absolute creation. Yeah. I think where also Steve Jobs, maybe not as radical as Beethoven, but I think that was also the case. But we see that in cases where something is created that's actually bringing some incredible value, real value, in a lot of these cases, it doesn't have a lot to do with profit. There is profit there eventually, yeah, but that's not the driving force. So anyhow, to put this into perspective, what our argument or my argument here is that a lot of the time comparison drives us to profit. The reason, the motivation, the goal, man, the objective is profit, better profit than that company, and hence we're going to be stronger and we're going to outlive that company and so on. Yeah. However, we are trying. Obviously, we depend on profit. We are
Paul,
trying not to put our entire philosophy on profit. Yeah. So
you mentioned Jobs. You actually, before I heard that, recommended to me many years ago the book Autobiography of Yogi. Yeah? And then after I read it, I think the third time, not read it, studied it. Yeah. First time I read it, and then second and third time I was more studying. Yeah. But then after that, I heard actually that's just a rumor, or actually maybe it's a fact. Yeah, the Jobs was actually giving this book as a gift constantly to people. Yeah,
really, wow.
yeah,
I, I
yeah. So
I gave it as a gift to.
maybe I
Yeah,
should check
yeah.
this if it's a fact. But that's what I heard several times. Yeah.
Well, I think over the decades since the beginning of the 20th century, a number, well, let's say not the beginning, that's too early. Since the middle of the 20th century, many people have given that book as a present or used it as as a guide. Put it that way. Yeah, yeah. But it's not a book to be read; it's a book to be studied. So, if anyone is really going to get its worth, it's quite a piece of work. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. It's to be studied and reflected upon and then put into practice. Yeah. Yeah. No. Interesting. You should bring that one up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe later before we are publishing, if you find something interesting, we can share here in the in the video notes. Yeah. Whoever is interested.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well.
actually, I can share right now.
Okay. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go for it.
I don't know how credible source this is. Yeah. But it's for
For
2013. Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I think not many people are aware, maybe especially the younger generations today. You can stop it here for a moment because there's something very important here. Yeah. The third paragraph where it says, it turned out that those books eventually purchased from Self-Realization Fellowship. That's the association that Yogananda created around the world. Many centers around the world, in his lifetime created a huge organization in the mountains, in city centers, by the beach, in many places. Yeah. And there were others, of course. Yeah. But it's self-descriptive. You see, he was so clear on branding, self-realization. That's what we're doing here. Eh? Realizing, taking responsibility for the self, and going deeper inwards rather than outwards, to create some truth internally, so that what we do brings meaning to our actions. Self-realization fellowship is all about self-realization. And very few people, what I wanted to say, very few people in today's statistically speaking, are aware how many business people and others, how many thousands, hundreds of thousands, especially in the United States, were affected strongly and motivated by Yogananda. And also a few others like that, yeah.
And it's interesting when you step on the journey, on your own journey. That's the work that never stops. Yeah. Also, if you and me would speak about this topic and relating this to this studio 10 years ago, it it would be different because we are trying to live this and walk this, yeah. So it's always evolving, yeah. And that's the interesting part to me personally, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I think this, you know, this discussion today is not going to appeal to you know, dynamic business to manage to business to management, which needs to perform on a profit basis, because here
Mm-hmm.
we are creating profit, but we are creating value, so we are willing to uh, not forsake or forgo profit, but we are willing to work with more comfortable, more, you know, not such radical numbers, if you like, yeah. And we're willing to wait another 2 or 3 years to see the results of something on a bigger scale. So this is not really going to be for those who are looking for very quick turnover, quick profit. It's more for those who are looking for a long-term strategy and a healthier way to deal with not just marketing but life. Because Matej mentioned very nicely earlier on at the very beginning the burnout situation, and the burnout situation is a serious situation worldwide now. Yeah. More executives than ever before, and more people are now with cancer and with other related illnesses related to stress, yeah, and performance. Yeah. Why does one need to perform at a ridiculous speed all the time in order to create value, or in order to build something on essence? Essence is there.
Mm-hmm.
It's there. It's absolute. You cannot destroy it. It's just a question of going deep enough. There's no need to run. Yeah, I think Matej introduced Set to me some years ago, and what Set was doing, and one of his more recent works, the book on bees. I think that's a great example. This guru of marketing, again, he didn't, you know, he did this major work. It affected not overnight, but over a period of time. It's affecting a lot of people, and it wasn't on some sort of comparison with other companies. He created a concept and strategy by looking at how bees, looking at something very definitive. Yeah? The way bees operate is the same today as it was, you know, in the community thousands of years ago. You know, you've got the
Mm-hmm.
worker bee, then you've got the male and the female, yeah, and it's all built around that, how it works and what they create and how efficient they are and what comes out of that pure beauty and the final result. All of us benefit not just from honey, from all the derivatives of their work, pollen and so on. But let me ask you, Matej, you know, I'm very curious. Do you think he was working on a model of comparison and trying thinking about how much money he can make over and above what other companies are doing in competition with him? Or do you think he was trying to create something on an essence level?
I think first point was definitely the essence, yeah. Then I think the consequence of this was all of this growth, all of this that we see right now, yeah. But I think the essence was was what we are speaking, you know, in today's episode, yeah. That's
What
what I feel, yeah.
do you have the book cover there, or do you remember the full name of the actual name of the book?
Sadly, no. That
Okay.
was one period of my life, yeah, where I was actually still, you know, somebody asked me, "Oh, that's an interesting book. Can I read it?" Yeah, but it then never came back. Yeah. So whoever has this book, yeah,
Return it now.
please.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
yeah.
The interesting books people don't return, do they? It's not fair.
But the interesting is, yeah, then you ask them, yeah, after 1 year, yeah, no, I still didn't read it. Yeah, please, a little bit longer. Yeah. So isn't it better that it's actually just waiting with me and just
Yeah.
being where it belongs? But yeah, so I thought to say, I think I know in one of the past episodes we were talking about redefining success, and I feel that today what we would like to present is about some kind of a synthesis of, stillness and agility. Right now, I know when I'm, you know, it's a constant balancing between the technology where it's going, and now we have the AI, and with this type of agilities, there is no point for humans to compete here. So I think that the answer is in these principles, yeah, Vedantic and in stillness, uh, because the progress will go on if you like it or not, yeah. So I think we have to, or we should look also somewhere else, yeah. The truth that is always there, yeah, if we take time and have courage to look there, yeah.
Yeah, courage and intuition. Just wanted to mention that quickly in relation to marketing and building things based on essence of that person or that product or that concept. Um, in our reality, with especially now with AI and everything that we've done over the decades now with digital technology, uh, there's no lack of numbers. There's no lack of formulas. There is no lack of processes or analysis. It's beyond what most people actually know how to use. This is where agencies like ours come in with our specialists, and they're there on taking things apart, putting them together on a number basis for hours and hours and hours. And of course, digital technology helps that. Yeah. However, this stillness that you're mentioning, Matej, is I think a key factor. So that when we move into agility, when we move into action, there is more clarity. Yeah, I think stillness is what creates clarity and gives people the power to be intuitive again. Yeah, with these processes of digital technological capability, some of the intuitive powers have been lost. Yeah, and if we're dealing with essence, each human being is quite different, and most people want to consume something that's bringing them something new or some real value. And here, this can really help. Yeah. I'm not saying that we should move away from numbers. Far from it. We ourselves are based on analysis and numbers. Yeah, our guys, this is what they do. However, I think that alone, without intuition, is a poor way to live or to market or to brand someone or something. In my opinion, I think the intuitive processes need to be nurtured and brought back in. And whilst we're using all this technology, be it AI or in the near future now blockchain formulas that are going to take over, are taking slowly over. People are not seeing them, but they are taking over, especially in health, in finance, and in banking and insurance now, and security. The intuitive element should not be forgotten. Yeah, it brings a value that the machines cannot necessarily compute. Not yet, anyhow.
Well, yeah, yeah. I think that's a very good, let's say, closing thought or statement for 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 this story, for this episode you and me wanted to share. So whoever is interested to actually speak about this more in details, feel free to contact us. And the essence is very important, yeah. All the other things that we do in branding, marketing, yeah, that for this specialist, knowledge and focus is important, yeah. But without essence and clarity and some kind of a meaning in this fast and vast world is at least to us, I think it's pointless. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Matej.
Thank you,
And
everyone. Thank you, Paul.
all the best to everyone. Yeah. Health and a lot of peace and quiet. Quiet before, as they say, the calm before the storm. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the best.
Bye.